ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this 23rd day of December 2022. Well, not many days left now. Well, we're moving on. Well, right now, let's take a look at what the weather forecast is for this Christmas. Everyone's a little bit eager. So many people are making plans, but it's going to be wet.
Tropical cyclone Ellie developed to the west of Darwin yesterday, just over the Timor Sea, intensified very quickly in the previous 24 hours, and at this stage it did cross the coast early this morning, about 150 kilometres to the southwest of Darwin. It is still a Category 1 system, even though it has moved over the land, but it is expected to weaken and will likely be downgraded back to a tropical low later this morning. It is of course still bringing heavy rainfall, winds above 100 kilometres an hour and very large waves as well. And there is also a severe weather warning which extends all the way back up to northern parts of the top end. So we are seeing very heavy rainfall continuing, and that is expected to continue over the next few days as it moves inland.
Yeah, just tell us a bit more in detail what we can expect over the Christmas period and the next couple of days.
So certainly for residents across the western top end, it is a fairly remote part of the country, but really advising people to keep an eye on those forecasts and warnings. We are expecting heavy rain to continue, including for parts around the Darwin area as well today. Heading into the Christmas weekend, ex-tropical cyclone Ellie will continue its southward track through the Gregory district, and that will bring heavy rainfall of likely more than 100 millimetres per day across fairly remote parts of the country, but of course that can cause dirt roads and secondary roads to be washed away. So reminding holiday makers and communities to plan for possible isolation of communities as well. But over the Christmas weekend towards Saturday and Sunday, we've also heavy rain pushed even further south, as far south as about Alice Springs and down towards Uluru as well. So many holiday makers and tourists around there. But into early next week, that's where we start to see a little bit of uncertainty develop. We could see that heavy rain push into Western Australia, with again a daily rainfall totals of above 100 millimetres towards the middle of next week. So certainly some very heavy rainfall right across northern Australia as we head into this active monsoon season.
Active monsoon season is what we are headed for, and Northern Territory is bracing up for the wet and wild Christmas.
Gloomy skies and lashing rain across the top end, a sign of things to come this Christmas. A tropical low has been hovering in the Timor Sea, which could develop into a cyclone tomorrow as it moves south towards the NT-WA coastline.
It did intensify overnight a little bit stronger than we were anticipating, and we're now thinking that it may have just enough time over water before it hits landfall that it may reach tropical cyclone intensity.
The cyclone warning area extends from Dundee Beach in the NT across to Columbaroo in WA and includes the towns of Wyndham, Kununurra and Wadette. If and when it forms, the system will become Tropical Cyclone Ellie and is predicted to make landfall by the afternoon. But the Bureau says the weather may start to turn even sooner.
We are expecting conditions to be deteriorating in those areas over the southwestern parts of the top end, perhaps later tonight, so we could see some gale force winds developing as well as heavy rainfall.
NT Emergency Services says communities in the affected areas have already begun preparing, but urged those who haven't to take action now. This cyclone warning is the latest wet weather warning that's been issued in the last few days, with a number of flood warnings also in place right across the territory. People are being urged to stay safe and dry this holiday season.
Drive to conditions, don't enter floodwaters. If it's flooded, forget it.
A timely reminder as the north braces for a wet and wild Christmas ahead. Mitchell Abram, ABC News, Darwin.
A wet and wild Christmas in the top end. And of course, there's also the heat wave that's been forecast for southern Australia. And of course, moving on, if we go to Melbourne, once again, heavy rainfall there. With the heavy downfall there, and the temperatures have been forecast, across the country to be reaching the higher levels. And of course, moving on, let's take a look at some other news from around the country. This man has been accused of lighting dangerous fires before the bush season. And of course, we know about these fires, and how could someone do that?
Hectares of shrub burn in the Avon Valley, allegedly at the hands of an arsonist. 8 fires have been sparked in the northern area since Tuesday, and one man has been charged with lighting 5 of them.
It's devastating for community members and can be lethal. So, we urge anyone that, to report suspicious activity at all times.
23-year-old Zach Brian Bidstrup is alleged to have started the blazes yesterday afternoon when temperatures peaked at more than 36 degrees. At least one of the fires posed a serious risk to lives and homes, with a water bomber called in to help ground crews. Mr Bidstrup appeared in the Perth Magistrates Court today. He's also been charged with kicking an officer and threatening his family. Police are still investigating what caused 3 other fires which started in Northam on Tuesday. It comes as the state government prepares for a high-risk bushfire season.
So the forecast certainly is for a particularly difficult January through to March. That's where the weather outlook is for very dry conditions.
The state government today bolstering its aerial firefighting fleet with the arrival of a second large air tanker.
Pleased that we will have a range of tools in our toolbox to help fight fires this season.
The fleet now includes 36 aircraft as firefighters prepare for a potentially dangerous summer. Sam McManus, ABC News.
Why on the earth would anyone ever do a thing like that? So, it's just beyond me, but again, people do all sorts of things like this one here. The owners of the Darwin restaurant have been charged over this explosive.
In the centre of Darwin's CBD, this restaurant would usually be packed. But after an explosion at a table in September that injured 5 patrons, its doors have stayed closed. Today, the results of a 3-month investigation into the incident by the NT's work safety watchdog have concluded. The family partnership operating Little Miss Korea has been charged with 6 breaches of the Work Health and Safety Act and is facing
And the apologies for that abrupt ending of that news there, but right now we have just come off the funeral for the 2 police passed away. But here's another report where the police were at a standoff at another Queensland property.
Yeah, well, police were called to the units behind me in Newtown at Toowoomba yesterday at around 11 a.m. They were conducting a search warrant where they found 2 men who were believed to be in the possession of a firearm. This sparked negotiations. Some shots were fired by both the police and the people inside. An exclusion zone was set up in the surrounding streets and some people, like you said, were evacuated. The Special Forces team were called to the area and were rushing around the streets trying to locate these 2 men. No one was harmed and the 2 men, like you said, were taken into custody at around 6 p.m. yesterday afternoon.
Anthea, is it clear how close the police were to these men when the shots were fired, or when there was this exchange of fire, or is that not really clear?
No, it's not really clear at this stage.
Right.
Due to the exclusion zone set up, I couldn't get too much closer. I was just situated at a nearby park where I thought I heard some shots. I couldn't confirm whether they were or not. But yeah, it's hard to say how close police were at this time.
Yeah, and what's been the reaction from the community?
Well, obviously, after last week's shooting at Williambilla, everyone was really on edge. The people I was speaking to were thinking, I can't believe this is happening again, and especially in Toowoomba, we're leading up to Christmas, so there was a bit of shock, a bit of concern for the police officers as well. We obviously had the service that was held yesterday, so people were on edge. There was quite a few people gathering in the nearby park just to have a look at things and ensuring that the public was okay, but it was really glad to see that it resulted in a happy ending.
Yeah, and what's expected for today?
Well, as you can see, a crime scene has been set up at the location, so investigations will continue today. Police officers and investigators have been coming to and from the property in the last few minutes. The 2 men are expected to be charged with several offences and they will face the Toowoomba Magistrates Court.
And it's unbelievable that, right on the back of what's happened, that incident like this takes place. Well, right now, let's go to Western Australia, where taxpayers have been slapped with $1 million bill for the Premier's legal fight.
Season's greetings from the Premier.
Right, good afternoon everyone, and happy Christmas.
But Mark McGowan wasn't bearing gifts, rather a bill for taxpayers, revealing the cost of his defence in defamation proceedings brought by Clive Palmer.
That cost is $2,021,665.
In 2020, the Queensland businessman and WA's Premier were regularly trading barbs at press conferences. Clive Palmer was trying to bring down WA's hard border, and the state had just passed legislation blocking his claim for $30 billion over an historic mining deal.
Mr Palmer then issued a writ against me personally in the federal court for defamation. I didn't want it, I didn't seek it, I didn't commence it, I didn't ask for it.
Mark McGowan cross-claimed, suing Mr Palmer. Months later, following multiple court appearances, Justice Michael Lee found both men had defamed each other.
In the end, Mr McGowan also defamed Mr Palmer, and despite the offer, he should not get his costs of the primary proceeding.
Do you take any personal responsibility for that, and do you think it's right that the taxpayer is footing the bill for that?
So, the reason that the state bears these costs is because otherwise billionaires can sue premiers or prime ministers or ministers or parliamentarians from office.
The opposition claims the Premier's ego got in the way of restraint and statesmanship at cost to the taxpayer. It's calling for an itemised breakdown of the legal costs to be published. James Carmody, ABC News.
There you go. The leader doing his job, or is it his personal ego that got in the way, as per that report? Well, right now we're going overseas. First we go to this report from the Taliban, where global condemnation has come at the Taliban's decision to ban women from ministers.
Another door closes on the future for women in Afghanistan. Students turned up to campus in Kabul only to be turned away by the Taliban.
When I arrived at the university, things were strange. Taliban Humvees were parked at the entrance and the Taliban were telling us to go home. Girls have no right to study anymore.
They didn't allow me in. I can't express how I feel. No one understands.
Those already inside were forced to pack up and go, even in the middle of exams. Some students found out through social media.
I cried a lot. We didn't sleep. When the sun rose, we thought there is no life for women in Afghanistan since the Taliban have closed all routes towards success.
We have an unknown future under this government. Our hopes have been buried, but I think if we struggle, God willing, something positive may happen.
Chanting "Do not politicise our education," groups of women and men protested outside universities in the capital and in the nearby city of Jalalabad despite the risks. The United Nations says the move deepens women's erasure from society. The US threatened consequences for the Taliban, warning no country could thrive when half its population was held back. Avani Dias, ABC News.
And that is rather disturbing news. We have seen that there's been a lot of advocates and a lot of lobbying happening against that kind of move by Taliban and equal rights for women, especially to education. Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now it's time to go to our daily India report.
Welcome to the Daily India Report. That brings you reports, interviews, features and more on India and the Indian diaspora. As global COVID cases spike, the Indian government is getting ready to avoid another wave of the pandemic in the country.
Weeks after the Xi Jinping-led Chinese government eased up on the stringent COVID curbs under the zero COVID policy following massive protests, COVID cases in the East Asian country have surged so much that experts suggest that within the next 3 months, 60% of the country could be fatally infected with the virus. Seeing a rise in global COVID-19 cases, the government of India has taken steps to avoid another wave of the pandemic in the country. All states in India have been asked to send all COVID positive samples on a daily basis, and the samples will be sent to the designated INSACOG genome sequencing laboratories. Indians Union Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia reviewed the coronavirus situation in the country on December 21st. He also held a meeting with senior officials and experts on the COVID-19 situation in the country. The minister urged citizens of India to follow COVID-appropriate behavior and get vaccinated against COVID amid rising coronavirus cases abroad. He said that the government is prepared to manage any situation. He also reviewed the preparedness of the public health system for surveillance, containment and management of the COVID-19 situation. The health minister noted the importance of being prepared and remaining alert in view of the upcoming festive season. Meanwhile, Niti Aayog member Dr. V.K. Kaul has appealed to people to take the jab and wear masks in crowded places. According to the Union Health Ministry data updated on December 22nd, India's active cases declined to 3,402.
India has issued a fresh RIF to acquire a 155mm 52 caliber towed gun system, which has opened a new avenue for Israeli firm Elbit's Athos.
The Indian Army has issued a fresh request for information to acquire a 155mm 52 caliber towed gun system for modernizing artillery regiments. The RFI opens up a new avenue to Israeli firm Elbit, whose autonomous towed howitzer ordnance system was in the reckoning for a mega contract from the Indian Army for over a decade. This comes even as Indian firms Kalyani Group and Tata have collaborated with the DRDO to develop the advanced towed artillery gun system, which was used for the ceremonial firing on Independence Day at the Red Fort. Issued on 20th December, the RFI notes that the weight of the gun system be preferably less than 15 tons. And this clause is why the Israeli firm, which has a tie-up with the Adani Group, is back in the race for supplying the Athos to the Indian Army. Given that the Athos weighs less than 15 tons while the ATAGS is well over 18 tons, industry sources sees the new RFI as an opening for the Israeli weapon system. The 155mm 52 caliber towed artillery gun figured in the first negative list of the defense imports. But a rule was introduced allowing armed forces to import defense equipment in certain circumstances, even if it figures in the negative import list.
Adani Solar has introduced India's first large-size monocrystalline silicon ingot, which will drive indigenization to produce renewable electricity from silicon-based PV modules.
Indian billionaire Gautam Adani owned Adani Solar on December 21st, introduced India's first large-size monocrystalline silicon ingot. Inaugurated by Gautam Adani at its Mundra facility recently, the monocrystalline ingots will drive indigenization to produce renewable electricity from silicon-based PV modules with efficiencies ranging from 21 to 24%. Adani Solar is the first company in India to complete the backward integration of ingot line infrastructure in a record time of about 7 months, making significant progress towards the goal of Energy Swaraj. The new manufacturing line will produce silicon ingots exclusively for its solar wafers, cells and modules production. With this, Adani Solar becomes the sole producer of large-size monocrystalline silicon ingots in India, which shall be a critical link in the photovoltaic crystalline silicon industry value chain and drive towards a self-reliant India in the near future, the company said. While the company's initial production has already begun, it intends to add 2 gigawatt of ingot and wafer capacity by the end of 2023. By 2025, it will scale up to 10 gigawatt, it added, with a ramp up in its annual production capacity of solar PV cells and modules from 1.2 gigawatt in 2017 to 4 gigawatt in 2022. Adani Solar remains India's first, largest and most vertically integrated manufacturer.
A high-level Japanese delegation is scheduled to visit India on December 25th to resolve issues related to the delay in India's bullet train project.
Amid delay and cost overrun in India's first bullet train project, a high-level Japanese delegation led by Mori Masafumi, special advisor to the Japanese Prime Minister, is scheduled to visit India on December 25th to meet Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw. The delegation will try to resolve a number of important issues related to the bullet train project. The Japanese delegation and the Railways Minister are scheduled to visit the project site to view the ongoing work. The visit by Japanese dignitaries is significant as India is looking for a concrete commitment from Japan on completing the 508-kilometer Mumbai-Ahmedabad high-speed rail link in part by 2026. The project is supposed to have made a physical development of 24.1% by 23rd November 2022, with about 30% of the work finished in Gujarat and around 13% progress made in Maharashtra. While the land acquisition process is nearly over, civil construction contracts for some portions of the viaduct bridge, station and railway construction have already been given. The project is expected to enter a crucial phase as soon as the rolling stock tenders, including the train set and signalling system, are finalized and put on the market. Before putting out the offer, the Japanese and Indian sides must come to an agreement on the expected pricing of the rolling stock because of the escalating input costs. These difficulties are likely to be handled during the upcoming visit of the Japanese delegation. Although the bullet train project was previously scheduled to be finished by 2023, it has subsequently undergone numerous extensions and a goal has now been established to have it operating in the Gujarat region by 2026.
Indian equity indices Sensex opened in green on December 22nd despite losing more than 600 points in the last session.
Indian equity markets opened in the green on December 22nd with BSE Sensex gaining 300 points while the NSE Nifty gained 100 points. The markets had declined sharply on December 21st amid concerns over rising COVID cases globally and apprehensions ahead of the release of the Reserve Bank of India's latest policy meeting minutes and key macroeconomics data from the US. Selling was seen on December 21st across all major sectors except healthcare, pharma and IT stocks with fears of a recession lingering. The 30-share Sensex had crashed 635 points to end at 61,067 while its broader peer Nifty 50 ended below the 18,200 level. The market capitalization of all listed companies on the BSE had declined by 4.55 lakh crores to 282.84 lakh crores. In the Sensex pack, IndusInd Bank, Bajaj Finserv, Maruti and Ultratech Cement were the top losers, falling over 2%. Tata Motors, Axis Bank, Kotak Bank, Bajaj Finance and SBI also closed with losses.
Mercury has dropped further in North India as dense fog engulfed states of Delhi, Haryana and Punjab states.
Cold waves continued to grip North India on December 22nd as the dense fog engulfed the Indo-Gangetic plains including Delhi, Haryana and Punjab states. According to the India Meteorological Department, cold waves and dense fog conditions are likely to continue in most parts of Punjab, Himachal, Haryana, Chandigarh, Delhi and Uttar Pradesh. The IMD said that cold wave to severe cold wave conditions are likely to continue at isolated places in Haryana, while dense fog is also expected at most places in the state over the next 3 to 4 days. In Punjab, IMD has predicted cold wave conditions and dense fog at isolated places till December 25th. For Jammu and Kashmir, the Meteorological Department has forecast colder nights over the next couple of days due to a further fall in the minimum temperature. There is also a possibility of rain or light snowfall in some parts of Kashmir around Christmas. Meanwhile, in national capital Delhi, the minimum temperature will likely drop to 5 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be around 20 degrees Celsius during the next few days.
Akasa Air has added the state of Goa as its 12th destination in India. The new flight route will start between Goa and Bengaluru on January 11th.
India's newest airline, Akasa Air, has announced the addition of Goa as its 12th destination in India. Akasa Air will offer 2 daily flights from Goa to Bengaluru from January 11, 2023, increasing to 3 daily flights from February 1st and 2 daily flights from Goa to Mumbai as well. Thus, the enhanced connectivity between the commercial cities and one of the country's most popular tourism hubs will help boost economic growth and also help increase the tourist footprint. By end December 2022, the airline expects to cross over 500 weekly flights and has announced a total of 18 routes across 12 cities, namely Ahmedabad, Bengaluru, Kochi, Chennai, Mumbai, Delhi, Guwahati, Agartala, Pune, Visakhapatnam, Lucknow and Goa. The city of beaches, Goa has played a significant role in putting Indian tourism on the global map and is one of the most popular tourist destinations within India all year round. It has also emerged as a manufacturing base for several leading companies that constantly require greater connectivity to metro cities. The commencement of this route will enable Akasa to enhance connectivity between these cities while offering their signature warm and efficient service to the passengers.
T-Series has released yet another song from the Ranveer Singh starrer Circus. Titled Aashiki, the song is written, composed and sung by Badshah.
Just 2 days before the release of their film, the makers of Ranveer Singh, Pooja Hegde and Jacqueline Fernandez Circus have released another song titled Aashiki. The peppy number features nearly all of the cast of the comedy film grooving to the Badshah track. Ashiki seems very much like Badshah's single Jugnu. The track has been crooned by Badshah and Amrita Singh with composition and lyrics by Badshah. The song is more of a groovy club number than anything else. Since its release, the song seems to be winning the hearts of listeners with its retro vibe. Circus is the third collaboration of director Rohit Shetty and actor Ranveer Singh. They have previously collaborated on box office hits Simba and Suryavanshi, where Ranveer had a cameo along with Ajay Devgan. The script of Circus is written by Farhad Samji and has been bankrolled by Shetty and Bhushan Kumar. Besides Ranveer, Pooja and Jacqueline, the film also stars Varun Sharma, Johnny Lever, Mukesh Tiwari and Sanjay Mishra among others in pivotal roles and will release in theatres on December 23rd.
That's all for this bulletin of the Daily India Report.
And thank you very much, Ankita, for that the report. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been wonderful having your company, and we'll continue with the show again. There will be tomorrow, but today 4 p.m. we have our December episode of Migration Ka Safar. So Suman Dua will be right here in the studio, and we will be discussing what has been happening right now. There's been a lot of changes. There's been a lot of people who have been getting invites, etc. So at 4 p.m. and of course she will be taking your questions live from here. So on the Facebook during this session, you can ask any question that you would like in the comment section, and we will attempt to answer your questions, all migration related. So that's coming at 4 p.m. today, live, the last one for this year. And wrapping up this year with the Migration Ka Safar updates, a monthly update by Suman Dua, your migration expert. So she will be here in the studio at 4 p.m. And we will go live and we'll take live questions on air. So you can send your questions through our comment section at 4 p.m. As I mentioned before, that it will be the last show for this year. That's lots of updates, and thank you so much for your support throughout the year to all our specialist presenters who have come in with their very, very informative sessions on different topics. So, Migration Ka Safar with Suman Dua today at 4 p.m. only on Australian Indian Radio. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, it's been wonderful having your company on this 23rd day of December. Temperature out here today in Brisbane, 25 degrees, and the forecast is for remaining, sunny throughout the day. And as we've seen from the report that on the top end and even in the southern ends, especially in Melbourne, it's still raining. And the Northern Territory is bracing up for that storm that is predicted, which might make landfall later today or tomorrow. So we'll keep you updated, and if you are in the area and affected by that, please watch out for all the warnings that have been sent out by the Department of Meteorology, and stay alert, stay safe, and have a wonderful day. Until tomorrow, it's goodbye from us.